Yeah, so years ago, video games were fun back in the day. Like if you think about the olden times, I used to always play these games, which were, these Lego indie games, right? And I used to play, most of these single player games. And around this time, it gave us a huge understanding of what made video games fun. I used to play a bunch of like these old games before Fortnite existed. And before Fortnite existed, it was a lot more fun. Like multiplayer games were so much fun that most of these AAA games were literally giving us the wildest experience we've always wanted, right? And throughout that, we got to actually get around people and establish, creativity in modern gaming. We used to always be really creative with what we do in any sort of video game we used to play. And especially with these AAA developers back in those days before, pre 2017, it was actually fun back in the day. Like I remember I spoke to my friend the other day, like years ago, and he had like this YouTube channel and he would always have like this weekly ritual that's called Retro Sundays, right? So every Sunday he'd always make these, videos every Sunday of him playing a retro game. And it kind of gives me huge inspiration of like, holy shit, like retro games were actually fun back then. Like most of the games that we used to play back in those olden times, look, if you're like back in those olden times, they were literally fun. Like they were literally one of the like the wildest experience we've always had. And it's one of those best memories that I've always had in those times. If you've ever played, the old Call of Duty days and the old Roblox times, the old Minecraft times, which I think Minecraft still remains at this time. But compared to the other games, like if you played Destiny 1, it was actually much more better, compared to Destiny 2, because Destiny 2 is like pretty shit these days, right? And if you had to compare Destiny 1 to Destiny 2, Destiny 1 has actually improved so far lately. And it's one of those games that brought me a lot of joy and a lot of memory into it. And it's applies to so many of those like Lego games that I used to play with my friends all the time. We used to play in like these Lego indie games with people too. Like we used to always play on console back in those days, and it kind of gives me huge inspiration. It's also same applies with Roblox as well. Like I used to always have like this thing called personal servers, and when I used to do personal servers, we'd often build all the time. We'd often build like really cool cities. We'd build like some boats that I could actually like fly across the entire river, which is actually a pretty fun experience. And it's one of those experiences that I'm never gonna forget. And I used to always play with my friends all the time with like building in Minecraft and as well in Roblox as well. And then later on, as we start to evolve and as I start to get older, like things kind of start to get better now. Like it's like so much fun. Like the games we used to play were so much fun. The fact that we used to play games like Rocket League, we used to play games like GTA, we used to play Call of Duty Black Ops 3 or Black Ops 2 back like around 2015. Like it's one of those best moments I've always had. And it gives me huge understanding. Like when Fortnite released, it was when it hit me rock bottom. It was when it like I lost a lot of interest in video games these days, because it really saddens me that most of these AAA games, and I know like, yeah, they make money from those games. I understand that, like they make like profit off of us, spending money on those games, and fair enough, like that's fine. But you have to understand that it just saddens us, the fact that these games are just trying to make games just to please everyone. And you have to understand, like most of these games, they don't just always appeal to the masses nowadays. Like they make games that they actually want to play themselves, right? Like the guy who was actually working at Bungie, right? What's his name? Fucking Justin Truman, whatever his fucking name is. He actually mentions, like he quote unquote mentions this, like, oh yeah, we want to play games, we want to make games that we want to play. And that's just the fucking cope, right? Most of these games are like that now. Like most of these games are basically like that now, just trying to just copy each other, like one to one. Like if you think about like Rainbow Six Siege, Call of Duty, Destiny 2, most of these big like live service games, they're basically just mocking each other, dude. Like they're just mocking every single time, and they're just mocking them off of Fortnite. Like all of this shit just kind of came from a huge inspiration from Fortnite, not gonna lie. And it's just so sad these days. And that's where like I eventually lost my love for video games, was mostly because most of these games are just copying each other with like not just the experience, but with microtransactions and spending a shit ton of money off of these games, which is microtransactions, loot boxes, battle passes, skins. Like it's just useless now. It's not really what satisfies us. And we would often work every single time in these fucking like 9-to-5 jobs, or like working these shit part-time jobs to actually work so that we could actually pay for these in-game purchases so that they could satisfy us. And that's a fucking cope. It's a huge understanding. That's literally trading our freedom away, because when we're spending so much money on these in-game purchases, like on these skins, whether if it's Fortnite or whether if it's Call of Duty or whatever, or if it's Robux or V-Bucks, right? You're basically trading your freedom away. And you need to kind of invest in those experiences. And that's what these AAA games don't really understand us, because and I understand it. It's not, and I don't blame them for that, because you have to understand, like, they're trying to treat them as if it's something they do for a living. And most of these developers now, like the developers we knew back then that made the best games ever, like, you know, Skyrim, right? Or Fallout, right? Like, they're not working for the current game anymore, right? They're gone now. Even the developers in Destiny, like, they're gone now. I heard that Joe Blackburn, like, he's gonna be leaving Destiny 2 as well, right? So even though he's been one of like the originals who's been working on the project for months now. So I remember there's this YouTuber I used to watch. His name is November Hotel, and when I watched his video about like most AAA games are like out of touch, or the fact that creativity is now dead, like when I watched his video, I was like, damn, bro, this guy knows me so well, because it gives me huge understanding that it's just not what it once was. Like, it just saddens me, because now we're focusing on competition. We're focusing on trying to compete against other people, and we're literally trying to do and like try to be like everyone else in the game, right? And now we lost the love for it because of these games trying to just corrupt us and trying to actually take away other aspects of our childhood away. They're not giving us the best memories that we once had. If you think about these AAA games, right? Like, the gaming industry has reached about $100 billion, you know, more than the music and TV industry, right? It's literally the music industry and the TV industry literally combined with the whole gaming industry. It's just so fucked up, you know. A lot of guys, especially like us, we'd often play these games. We'd often play games that would come out in 2000 before 2017, because they were much more better. Like, if you think about games like Batman Arkham Knight, or if you think about most of these single player games, like, they're not like, I'm not going to try and say that they're actually addictive, but they basically aren't focusing in on the money. They're focusing on the experience. They're focusing on the, like, the purpose over profit type thing, right? And dude, this would even include, like, you know, the retro games like Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim, Dark Souls, etc., right? And even Elden Ring as well, even though it's not really a retro game, but it's a current game, but it's a successful game that was never meant to even appeal to the masses, and it was only the game that was made that's suited to their own interest at heart. You can say whatever the fuck you want, and if you were to, let's say, like, go back in time, you're gonna be like, holy shit, dude, this is so fucking good. Like, let's say if you're like the age of 12, or like if you're the age of 9 or 10, you'd probably realize, like, holy shit, this is so fucking good, honestly. Right? No wonder why Elden Ring became successful in the first place, because, you know, the game wasn't ever meant to appeal to the masses. They would actually want to make games that they actually want to play, right? Because, you know, Elden Ring's goal isn't just to simply appeal to the masses. They just want to target an audience that's suited to their own interest. And if it's with the hardcore players, then that's fine. Like that's actually absolutely fine. And they have unleashed creativity and has escaped with competition to authenticity. And that's what most of these AAA games are having, is that if you want a game to succeed, you have to escape competition to authenticity. Because you have to understand, like, those games, they don't really compete with each other. Like, you know, Fortnite and Apex Legends, they can't compete with each other, because you have to understand, like, you can play both games. You can literally play like both battle royale games, like Warzone and Apex Legends. You can't really compete both of them. Like, it's really hard for like Destiny 2 to compete with Fortnite, right? I don't think they can ever compete with each other, because you have to understand that they make games that suited to their own interests. There's literally people who literally play both games at once, right? It's just like how people would often watch Marvel and DC both at the same time, right? And it has become like the pinnacle of all. Like, most of these creative games has been like the massive pinnacle of all, rather than most of these AAA companies, whether it's Bungie, Activision, Blizzard, Epic Games, Bethesda. Like, those AAA games, they're just not in a good state right now. Like, they're in this constant need for money, like chasing money right now. They're not focusing on needs right now. They're chasing money rather than needs. And especially, they're not even chasing what the people really want. They don't give a shit about their own interest anymore. They're literally trading their fucking freedom away. And you often see how fucking depressing these developers are. I know this for a fact, because it's just the amount of layoffs they often have in most of these video game companies. It's fucked. So many people would actually prefer to play games like Garry's Mod or Team Fortress 2, because Valve does a pretty good job in most of these games, right? So it gives a huge understanding that most online live service video games, it gives a huge understanding, like, what is it that most live service games would have to offer? And most of these live service games are fucked. They're like, these AAA games are fucked. Because you have to understand, like, you basically have to play the game of the whole online gaming space, like the whole video game studio plays. And it's, yeah, it has to be long term, but at the same time, it needs to be more creative. You have to just make it something that would actually give them the experience, rather than just giving them satisfaction, dopamine hits every now and then with wallet gamers and trying to spend like a shit ton of cash cows and a bunch of that stuff. Like, you see these guys who like spend thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars, like literally spending on microtransactions. And I was actually one of these people too. Like, I spent like thousands of fucking fucking dollars on Destiny 2 ornaments, and I would even spend them on fucking Fortnite skins. Even though, like, with Destiny 2, that's different because I enjoyed the game and I had a really fun experience. But with Fortnite, I never fucking enjoyed the experience, right? Because I've had so many friends that were interested into Fortnite, and the only reason I only wanted to play Fortnite is because I actually wanted to fit in, and I never felt like I had like a lot of interest in them. And to be honest, I had a lot of like different opinions than these people. So I often ask myself, like, you have to choose a game that's based upon your own interest. Like, you have to choose a video game that's literally based upon your own interest and that you're really passionate about, right? Because if you're literally gonna play a video game that's suited to other people's interests, or like that's really popular or oversaturated, then what the fuck's wrong with you? You're literally wasting your time. And even though I don't really play video games that much, I know, yeah, video games are bad, but like, you have to understand, like, it's something I kind of wish I could have done in my teenage years. Like, maybe if I had the time to play video games, like, oh yeah, I can imagine, like, if I played Destiny 2 over Fortnite, I would get super fucking good. I probably would have gotten like day one Deepstone Crypt, right? Done really fucking good rather than just playing Fortnite. Because you have to understand, like, it's purpose over profit. What most of these AAA developers have to do, they has to rely solely on purpose over profit. And it's really sad how they actually turn their love into their labor. They have to turn their love or like their passion to a labor, because now, like, they need money. And now it's literally they would have to work every now and then, 24/7. So, you know, this is why our childhoods, you know, became like the pinnacle of for the love of gaming. Like back in the olden days, if you played like, I don't know, fucking Club Penguin for an example, because Club Penguin, I think it was a pretty good experience, or Toontown. And I guess our childhood is something that resembles a sense of creativity, even in gaming as well. So you have to understand that these AAA companies are just doing it for the money, simply just trying to appeal to the masses and targeting a new generation of 13-year-olds, asking mommy and daddy for money, spending on bullshit in-game purchases. And we don't want to be like these people. Like, we don't want to be like these 13-year-olds trying to ask mommy and daddy just to keep spending thousands and thousands of dollars on fucking in-game purchases these days. We don't want to be like them anymore, because it's a huge burden. So you have to understand, like, we choose to instead play games that give us experience to explore and to be creative before like modern gaming even existed. Like, modern gaming is now becoming a chore now, and we just want to play games that we actually want to enjoy now, that literally interest us, that gives us a sense of curiosity and creativity. And this is something I kind of wanted to like talk to like my younger self, and that's something that I wish my younger self could have actually understood this for like months from now. You know, creativity is the key to longevity, to actually keep the game sustainable and to survive for a long period of time. And the AAA industry desperately needs creativity to keep the game sustainable. It's literally the pinnacle of wanting to keep the game to survive for a long period of time. If you think about Power World, if you think about Helldivers too, right? And rather than just selling in-game purchases on skins, loot boxes, or shitty battle passes, why can't they just sell expansions that give them experiences? Like, if you think about Illumri, like, they're making a new expansion. And Destiny 2, I think, is doing all right, because they do often give a decent amount of experience, you know, with Final Shape releasing. And I guess World of Warcraft as well, fair enough. But you have to understand that experience is the key, not in-game purchases. In-game purchases are fucking like useless. And I'm not gonna lie, it was fun. The reason why, because we would work hard, we would enjoy the process and trying to get a really valuable, satisfying reward, which is so cool. And that's what video games should be as of now. Like, that's what video games are meant to be. Like, you work so hard to get like something so valuable. Like, you know, when you play Destiny 1, right, you actually work so hard to do like hardcore I don't know, like light level 390 for Wrath in the Machine, and you get like the nicest ship. Or like, if you were to do the 390 Crota's End, you'd actually get the Aegis of Triumph armor. I'll just put it right here. And that literally gives you experience. Like, dude, this is so cool. And like, most of the people are gonna be like, oh, dude, where did you find it? Where did you get that shit from? So that's what I really wish video games could have been like. And especially in Roblox as well, because like most of these Roblox developers, they're just trying to appeal to the masses as well. So yeah, it's just so sad that most of these games just are just copying and just mocking each other just to desperately need money. Like, if you just need money, just get a fucking job. I know it destroys your ego, but like, if you want to do what you love, then set it to the other side. It literally takes a long period of time. And yeah, you have to be a little bit more practical as well and solve people's problems too. But at the same time, you have to focus on what you're interested in and follow your own curiosity. But do that after you know the marketing tactics on how you can actually market your passion and monetize your passion. Because yeah, sometimes monetizing your passion can be hard. And I know, like, it's like this huge aspect of like, oh, you should really start a cupcake business, right? So you have to learn how to build skills, practical skills on how to actually understand ways to actually market the product rather than just like going all in and monetize your passion.